Matt DeBerry, this is the one thing that Kirby's talking about a lot, and he's right. That it's gonna either, Georgia's gonna get it better and right, and they're gonna probably go on to win the national championship, or they're gonna continue to struggle with this, and it's gonna cost them at some point, or it probably should. He's talking about red zone defense. If you don't know what red zone is, that means the 20-yard line and towards the end zone. It's that 30 yards of football that's so critically important. Matt, here's what Kirby had to say about the problems with the red zone defense. He said this in his off week press conference. He said it's been hard to pinpoint because every game it's been a different person or a different thing. There's no common theme. It's like there's no like, well, they're throwing over our head. This guy's a weakness. He's getting beat. No, everybody's taking a turn. This guy got beat and he's got bad eyes. This guy had great leverage and got beat. This guy gave up a run in his gap because he didn't have the run because he didn't run the right stunt. And then sometimes they just whip you. They whip you. South Carolina ran it on us, and we say at Georgia we're not going to let you run it on us. Well, some teams have, and that Carolina play, by the way, really helped South Carolina stay in the game. It was 3rd and 16, and they scored a touchdown. Third and like from their 18-yard line or whatever it was, Matt. This is what, when you look at football, this is one of the things that you have to clean up, and that's a problem at Georgia. Georgia does not have a lot of problems. This is for sure a problem that Georgia has.
Well, I think this goes on coaching the rest of the way. They're not getting any new players out here. This is about coaching, and I think this is something that the defense can play with a chip on their shoulder. Like, hey, they're now in our red zone. We got to play better. We got to do something a little different. I don't know if it's a toughness or physical nature that they don't have that they did the last 2 years, but at the end of the day, if you keep them out of the end zone, force them to kick field goals, Georgia's going to win the game. There's not a single team out there that's going to beat Georgia with field goals. And I think he said, if we hold them to a field goal, that's a win. And he feels the same way on offense. If they kick a field goal instead of score a touchdown, that's not a win. That's a loss. 3 points is 3 points. You'll take it, but that's not ideal. That's not what championship teams do. And a big reason why Georgia won the last 2 national championships is because they were so good in the red zone. And when they're allowing touchdowns this year at, I don't want to say this rate because it's not often, but it is happening more often than the last 2 years. Something's got to happen. This is the off week. They've got to figure that out. And I'm glad we're talking about this because Malachi Starks actually said the same thing. They asked him, hey, you're an all-American type of player, one of the best players on the roster. What do you think is happening with red zone defense? And he basically said, it's on us. And I love the quote. He said, the biggest thing is us. It is nothing that the opponents are doing, nothing we haven't seen before, nothing we can't stop. It's more of an us thing. It goes back to communication, being on the same page and focusing on the little things. That's the one thing we have taken a big emphasis on this off week is just working on the things we need to work and correct. It's something we take a lot of pride on, and it's something that we've been lacking for a while. So we're going to get that back. They do take a lot of pride in it. We hear it often. No one gets in our end zone. The guys are getting in the end zone. I'm not a coach yet, so I don't know how to fix this, Dean. Kirby Smart's been doing this for a while. He's a defensive mind. Will Muschamp is a great defensive mind. Glenn Schumann might be the best defensive coordinator of college football. The coaching is there. They've got to put a stop to this, basically, if they want to win a three-peat.
Well, it's very important, and there's a lot of things that you can do to be successful in scoring, in the red zone as it relates to the defense. You can force field goals. They can miss the field goal. They can make the field goal. You can get into a 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 situation, and you stop them on downs. You can get a turnover. You can get a turnover and score an 80-yard touchdown on that turnover. There's a lot of stuff that you can do as a defense, but they're just allowing too many touchdowns. 1st and goal from the 3 or 1, whatever it was. But was that at the 1, Matt, last week
Which one?
against Vanderbilt?
I knew it was a 3-yard run at some point.
I mean, it's just really, really, really not that far away. The kid from Vanderbilt on one red zone situation made an amazing catch with, speaking of Malachi Starks, all over him. Well, the guys at Florida State are going to do that too. So, I, to me, think it's essentially execution. That's really what this is more than anything. Is if this team specifically the defense, will just um, execute probably a little better on, I would guess, first down. They may be in a better situation. Now they did that against South Carolina, and Carolina scored that sort of wild touchdown in a way on 3rd and 16. But when you know what, when you know, I'm pointing out situations where Georgia's been scored on, and I remember them, which means it's not happened a lot necessarily. I mean, they're only giving up 14 points a game, so this typically only happens maybe twice a game. But if you can take the 14 and make it 10 or make it 6 or make it 3, well then you're going to win games. It's going to, Georgia's not allowed more than 21 points this season, Matt. That's a lot of really good play from the defense. If you want a really good deal this weekend, I've got one for you. Our friends at EcoPoly, they've got a factory sale. Okay, that's this weekend. This very specific term, Matt, is the fall inventory closeout sale with up to 50% off. But you got to go to the store. The store is in Eastman, okay? That's in the heart of Georgia. It's not that far from I-16. If you're in Savannah, if you're in Macon, if you're in Atlanta, this is not that far a drive for you to make to get some really good deals. Thursday, Friday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. 105 Industrial Boulevard in Eastman, okay? You can get something like this rocker chair. You can get table sets. And there's going to be situations, Matt, where they're going to have stuff that's 50% off in some cases. So if you have a new house, if you're redoing your beach house, if you have a mountain house like Matt, if you have a lake house like Matt, if you have a beach house like Matt, and if you have those rental properties like Matt's in-laws, then you can just go down there. You can go down there and get probably some really good value this weekend. But this weekend, Matt, Georgia's off, and they've had this. They're probably not practicing the rest of the week at this stage. For me, this is execution. How do you get the job done? If you want to get the 50% off deal from these chairs, you have to execute by driving to Eastman, right? Or, whatever, flying. Then for Georgia, I think that they don't have Jalen Carter's gone where they can just go steal a play. That's the thing to me is they have to all be within and do their particular thing. If you don't get into the red zone, then you have to deal with red zone defense. But you're inevitably going to be in the red zone, and you got to get that done.
Yeah, it starts on 1st and 2nd down. When Georgia gets into the red zone and doesn't convert touchdowns, it's because they went backwards on 1st or 2nd down,
Or
puts them in an
penalties.
awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the same thing defensively. You can't let them get into 2nd and 4 or 3rd and 1 when they're already inside the 20, because then you can somewhat nickel and dime your way these last several yards in the end zone. Got to have big stops on 1st and 2nd down, put them into a 3rd and long, and make it a point where they're thinking, okay, if we can just get a few yards, a field goal's fine. We don't need to, score a touchdown here if we can just get out of here with 3 points, even though that's not the perfect scenario. Got to do better on 2nd and 3rd down, or 1st and 2nd down, excuse me. And I think, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but if we went back and looked at, the times Georgia allowed a touchdown, it's because they, there were no tackles in the backfield on 1st and 2nd down to put them in that awkward position. So it starts every single play is important, and you got to start forcing more turnovers too. Kirby said that so they're getting interceptions. I think they have 8 or 9 on the season. I can't remember the last time someone forced a fumble and they picked up on it. It'd be nice if that happened in the red zone too. But at any point, turnovers, especially those forced fumbles, have to start happening a little bit more.
So you can't remember it because it's happened once this season. It was Dan Jackson, and no one recovered the fumble. I mean, that's not okay. You're Georgia, right? And you and I go watch these high school games. Like, these guys are exceptional players, and they're playing other exceptional players. And if you're a defender, you have about 70 snaps a game to force a fumble. Now, against Vanderbilt last week, Vandy only had 44. They only had 44 plays from scrimmage. That's the fewest plays that Kirby's defenses have ever faced in SEC play. 44. There could be on pressures against quarterbacks. You can certainly strip. You can dislodge the ball in the run game. There's no shortage of ways of doing it. You can pick balls off, certainly in the end zone when the field shortens. But you know, you mentioned all the, I mean, Kirby, Will, you've got three current or former really good defensive coordinators are on this defensive staff. Um, and, you know, there were problems earlier in the year with other stuff, but for me, I would imagine that they will get this better. Now, how much better? I don't know. They were 86th in the country in red zone defense. I mean, that is, if you look at like a chart and there's just a line of usually what Georgia's at, Georgia's in the top 20, usually in the top 11 of most statistical categories. And then you've got red zone defense, which is like what, not even close to anything else. So it is something that's going to be a focus of theirs as time goes on. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.